Hope you all had a good bye week. Get some stuff done that you don't normally get done during game week. Those 3.5 hours not spent watching Florida. Hopefully you got something out of it. Definitely watched a lot more football this week. Besides Florida, of course, just got to peek around the country. Watch some more college football. Stress-free college football. That's what came out of this Saturday a little bit. But I guess the most stress you probably had watching college football this week would be watching LSU play Ole Miss this week after upsetting Florida the week before, and LSU pretty much looked like the team we thought they were, and they didn't look like that a week ago, did they? The Ole Miss Florida game or Ole Miss LSU game looked a lot like what the Florida LSU game should have looked like. Ole Miss running up and down the field, LSU not running up and down the field. So yeah, that was just a further confirmation. Now look, I hate using the transitive property. It does not work. You can use it. You just have to be careful when using it. And I think it's okay to use here because of what LSU had done up to Florida, and now one game after Florida, they were pretty much the team we thought they were. Florida, just for whatever reason, making that team look much better than they really are for the second year in a row. But that was my big takeaway. If you want to relate it to Florida in any kind of way, the bye week, that was the way to look at it for me. Is LSU's performance versus Ole Miss. And don't get me wrong, Ole Miss is a good team. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm trying to say here at all. But, if Florida had played the game that we think they have, but look, we've already decided we don't think, at least me, I don't want to speak for everybody, Florida's not as good as I thought they were. But I think the potential is there still, if you play your best game, to make Florida LSU should have been what Ole Miss LSU actually looked like. So that was one of the big takeaways. If you want to connect it to Florida in any kind of way, the bye week, there's your way of connecting it somewhat. So let me get, let's see, I can't see the whole name here, but Humble Sports Fan, Coach Pierre, coming in here. On just Twitter Spaces, everybody remember, I'll record it, but we'll see how this goes, if I put it out there or not. But there we go. Humble, you're in here now, or Coach Pierre, if you want to. Your microphone might be. There you go.
Yo, there we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for the Georgia game. It's obviously always a big game. But I'm just feeling confident due to the fact that teams don't play loose. You would think with no stress or pressure on them. And you hope just Grantham just does what he does and finds a way to coach one good game out of the year, and the team shows up.
Yeah, it's still rivalry game, still Florida, Georgia. I know the excitement level overall is not there for the fan base, but it is. You're playing the number one team in the country for the second time this season. It is a rivalry game. It is they're in Jacksonville, and the 50-50 split in the stadium. I don't know if it'll be 50-50 this week, and it's meant to be. We'll see if Georgia fans buy up a lot of the tickets there.
You would think.
Yeah. So maybe not quite 50-50 in the stadium. It'd be still close to it, though.
Yeah, but hopefully they come out and just, I don't know, find a way. I think.
Find a way. And you mentioned Grantham, but also Mullen. We rightfully so, kind of slam him for the team playing down the competition. Well, this is one more chance to play up to the competition.
Exactly.
And this is something Mullen has been able to do pretty well in his tenure at Florida. It stinks that the low part of it is playing down to the competition, but hopefully, he's got a game plan worked out this week and gets the team prepared, ready to play. But look, even if you're not playing Georgia, you're playing the number one team in the country. It doesn't matter who it is. You should be able to get up and play that team. So you're right. Motivation, hopefully, should not be a factor.
Hopefully, hopefully, you got week, pretty much 2 weeks now to figure out how to get AR the best play calls to fit him. And
Yeah, yeah.
Dan's obviously a smart enough guy, but hope he doesn't just let him go play. Let him go play, do his thing. We're already what 3-loss team now.
Right.
Let him go play. Let him make mistakes. It's gonna happen. Get him out now.
Yeah, you're definitely at that point in the season where there is some look ahead. I know coaches don't think about this a whole lot, but there is some look ahead to next season already with the quarterback position, especially at the quarterback position. But that's I've been thinking of how I'm going to approach the Georgia preview. Getting ready for Georgia, and I think we all expect to see AR. We hope to see AR more, and to me, I'll give a little bit of a preview nugget there that I'll have later on in the week. But to me, it's all about you got to score quick, you got to score fast. First of all, put some pressure on Georgia. First of all, make them think they're somewhat human on defense with that
Right,
great
right.
defense they have coming into the game. But also, if you are somewhat overall limited in just playbook that AR knows, at least take advantage of it early. You got to score early before you get into the groove of the game just a bit, and that Georgia defense is probably rolling. Can you early in the game hit Georgia with something they haven't seen before with Richardson? And I think that might be some advantage Florida can have here. Attack with stuff Georgia hasn't seen before. It's going to start up front. If you can block up front, that's where this is going to go. But you got to be able to at least catch Georgia off guard, steal some points early before. If the playbook is limited with AR, then I think you got to come up with the packages early on. I don't think it's very limited, but I'm just talking about stuff Georgia maybe hasn't seen before. And if it's going to be this knockdown, drag out game to kind of rest it away, steal some points early and at least put this team in position not to have to fight back early like they had a couple times this year.
Yeah. You would think with a bigger, faster, stronger AR, he matches up a lot better versus the defense. Obviously, George is loaded on defense, but you'd think he's bigger, faster, stronger. Hopefully, that goes into play with some of the play calling.
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing how Mullen attacks this Georgia defense. You're not going to beat them up front over and over again. You can't just, if the game plan is to QB dive, QB power, halfback dive right into the middle of the Georgia defensive line.
Yeah.
I completely wonder what the heck the game plan was, but
Yeah.
you'd have to think some. Georgia's fast too. You can't go east west all the time. They're a
Right.
fast defense pursue, but you've got to be able to get the ball to the outside a little bit to take advantage of not having to go into the middle of that teeth. Go into the teeth of that Georgia defense.
Right.
So there's a lot riding on this game as far as game plan and how Mullen draws up some things.
Yeah. Yeah, and last thing, I mean, we haven't seen Georgia's defensive corners get really much.
Right.
So who knows how they're going to play? They haven't had much adversity yet. I mean, this isn't last year's team where we can go down 21 points, whatever it was, 14 points off the get go and bounce back strong. But if we get them going early, they haven't seen adversity yet.
Here's the thing about that. Can you test their corners? And
Exactly.
that means you got to have time to go downfield.
Right.
So that's where this Florida offensive line is going to have to find a way to get that extra second for the quarterback for AR. Most of the time, I think that's when we've already seen that this team can go downfield with a more consistent basis is when AR is back there. So you can. And plus, it doesn't matter who. I still expect both quarterbacks to play. So whoever's quarterback, and if you want to take your deep shot, can the offensive line give you that extra bit of time that you're going to need? And to me, that's going to be the game. Florida's going to have to go downfield to beat Georgia. You're not going to have these 11, 12 play drives that we've seen a whole lot this year. I just don't think there's going to be there versus Georgia. You're going to have to hit your explosives, and that's really going to have to come up front.
Exactly. Agreed. That's all
Thanks,
I
Coach.
got. Yeah.
All right, man.
Go Gators.
Go Gators. Bring in MJ in here. What's up, man? Well, says your mic's there, but I can't hear you for whatever reason. Probably something to do with Twitter. But yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what Mullen can draw up game plan wise. Got a few more bullet points I'll have to say for the preview later on this week as well. But that's the big part is what can you do up front? Can you run the ball on Georgia at all? And when you do drop back to pass, when you do decide to take your deep shots, will the time be there for you to take those deep shots? There we go, MJ.
Yeah, sorry, my internet was cutting in and out. So,
Oh, good.
So to kind of point out to the quarterback stuff, we obviously all know who should be starting, but I mean, it's not like the receivers have been like lights out this year either. So I kind of feel to win this game, like everything, and literally everything has to work. So Whittemore has to make catches, Short has to come up big, more Gamble has to make big plays, Pierce, like anyone who steps on the field, like needs to have at least a positive play. So y'all think? I mean, I just have this weird feeling Mullen to go to Mullen. And to the previous speaker's point, like I hope Grantham has that one big day.
I do feel
We'll
like,
see.
but I do feel like the receivers have been somewhat limited with Emery, though. I mean, because he doesn't throw them open. He has to throw to a spot. He has to throw to a body. And most of the time when they're turned around and facing him, so it's really hard to break a tackle and go. Besides with AR, he's hitting them in stride, he's hitting them down the field, he's throwing to Green, he's throwing to a more open spot. I think that's why it gets LSU at least. If that can keep up, that's where we've seen I think the receivers look better as well. But yards per attempt, yards per catch, at least for Copeland and Gamble, some of the stats I've thrown out there the other day, they're much higher with AR than they are Emery. So I do think the receivers are somewhat better than what they've been able to show this year.
It's kind of refreshing to know then. I guess if anything, like what are your biggest things, certain takeaways you're going to see this week leading up to the game?
What question wise, it's in a big game, can Florida get off to a better start? I mean, we've seen it time and time again. You were able to storm back versus Georgia last year and get the victory, but you got down. You had to fight back. Last year versus Alabama in the SEC championship game, you got down. You had to fight back. Alabama this year, you got down. You had to fight back. So these teams that have more talent than you, you've had a chance to win these games, but you've had to fight back. Can you at least one time hold them down, and you get the lead? You put the pressure on these teams instead of all the pressure being on you and the force of and forcing you to have to come back. I think if we see that, will that make the result any different, or will the result be the same? But if it would be nice for a change for Florida to be the team that kind of dictates the early storyline of a game by getting up and making and putting pressure on these teams that are routinely for the last few years been better than you. Put the pressure on those teams.
Yeah, in the few games I have watched Florida play, they've seemed human. But I mean, granted, they've played the most complete games out of any, I think, opponent we're going to see this year. So hopefully it comes together. But time will tell.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and call Florida any great offense, but I'm not sure Georgia has played a great offense this year. Auburn overall probably the best offense, and they're looking better under Bo Nix this year. I'll give them some credit there. Auburn has looked. Besides that Georgia game, and they were able to move the ball in Georgia a bit. They had a lot of drop passes. They were able to get on Georgia's side of the field probably consistently a little more. Last couple games, Georgia or Auburn and Kentucky, those offenses have done some good things. Still limited more so than what they are in other games, but those teams have shown a little bit. And now Florida with a bye week, hopefully, AR back there being able to lead to some more explosive plays. This Georgia defense, we'll see. You can't let them get comfortable early. You can't let them. I mean, that Arkansas game is something I bring up a whole lot. This Arkansas. When we go back and look at Georgia, Arkansas, that was a game we looked at like, okay, kind of similar offense. They're really going to be heavily dependent on the run, heavily dependent on the quarterback run. This might give us a good indication of what maybe Florida can do in a month and a half whenever that game was played. Well, Arkansas shot themselves in the foot, false start after false start, put themselves in bad position. Jefferson was coming off an injury a little bit before the Texas A&M game the week before. So, there were different ways to look at that, but Georgia just absolutely demolished and dominated that game with their defense versus Arkansas's offense. So Arkansas, some of it self-inflicted, but still more so I lean to Georgia defense being able to really, really control that game. So, just Georgia offense hasn't had to do a lot. They've been able to play it safe. So it would be nice to put the pressure on that Georgia defense, make them taste their own blood a little bit, and then put some pressure on the Georgia offense at the same time.
Yeah, I gave me some PTSD with all the false starts there, Dave. So hopefully it doesn't carry over.
I know.
Into Saturday.
We've seen it at its worst against Kentucky. We've seen it at its best versus LSU, and still lost either way. So, But you're right. Hopefully this is the 50-50 split, and then it'll be somewhat loud when the Gators are on offense with the Georgia side, screaming their heads off with that defense. So, we'll see. You've had 2 weeks to prepare there, and you seem to figure out something versus LSU with that cadence and snap count and all that with the left guard tapping the center when the quarterback's ready for the ball, ready for the snap. So hopefully that carries over. Because how many times have we seen Florida? Okay, you fix one thing, but then something else just falls apart. So hopefully that's not the case again. Florida's got to calm down penalties overall. Has to calm down the interceptions. Both quarterbacks, have to be able to take care of the ball. Florida leads the country in interceptions right now. You're not going to win many games like that with one of the SEC's worst team in penalties and throwing interceptions left and right. You're not going to win many games like that. So you got to go out there and play a clean game versus Georgia if you want any chance of winning this one.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not paying much attention to this either, but for the few things I do see people share is not to say Dan Mullen's losing the locker room, but there's been a lot of favoritism towards the players suggesting that AR start. I mean, have you seen things like that? I mean, is there anything to kind of be concerned there? Because, once you lose the locker room, the coaching staff's done. You just got to clean house to start over.
Yeah, I don't haven't heard anything as far as players prefer. I know they love Emory. I know they love his leadership and his qualities there. But stats speak for themselves. Like I go back and talk about the receivers just a bit. Copeland's been able to be open down the field with AR and be seen and be thrown to more so than under Emory. And that has to play a part. If you're a receiver, if you're a tight end out there and getting and catching these passes from the quarterbacks, you want the one that can throw you open. You want the one that will see you when you're open. You want the one that gives you the better chance of making plays. And so far, that's been Richardson. And it's just a lot of safe intermediate type of throws with Emory Jones, not giving these wide receivers a whole lot of chances for runs after the catch or breaking a tackle and making something happen. It's been AR being able to throw these guys open, and without his aggressiveness in throwing the ball down the field and actually seeing it going through his progressions, I mean, it's opening up the whole offense. It's opening up every receiver to have a chance to make a play on whatever play call is coming in. And I think that if you're a player, you can't help but say and probably think in some way like, okay, I'm more involved. Especially, I'm mainly talking about the receivers and tight ends. I'm more involved in the game when AR is in. I have a chance to make a play, especially if I'm open. I think he'll see me if I'm open that play. So I think just the nature of it, of being more involved, I think really goes a long way, especially for that group of players. So we'll see how it plays out. Of course, one thing that does worry me with AR in Georgia, this is a really good defense, and he's going to be playing a really, really good defense. And who knows where this offensive line is for Florida, how healthy they are, being able to get healthy, of course, with the bye week. But you're going to get the best defense you're going to see all year, and I'd hate for Gator Nation, Gator fans the AR gets a chance and gets this really good Georgia defense. If things don't go the way it should, already give up on AR or saying, we knew he wasn't ready. This is just an example of that. This is tough. Georgia's going to do this against almost every quarterback they play. So I wouldn't necessarily want to slam AR. necessarily slam Emory either for going out there. This is a really good Georgia defense. I mean, whoever the quarterback is, that's just that map might be the way it plays out when you look at this game. So, but especially for AR and everybody maybe expect some people expected him to be the magic elixir of this offense. And look, I think he is the better quarterback right now and opens up the offense a bit more. But if it doesn't go much better than what we've seen for most of the year, you got to remember who's on the other side of the field as well. So hopefully we see a good game. Hopefully we see some growth from against a defense like this, and gives you some even more hope for the future and some. Florida, if Emory's out there too, hopefully he's out there making good plays and helping in a way to a win. But I do don't with the way this Georgia defense is, I'm going to be. Of course, we'll have to see how the game plays out, but just kind of looking at it from afar, looking at it 5 days before, 5-6 days before the game even happens. We'll. I don't want to be too hard on these quarterbacks going against this defense.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That's why they play the game. Thanks, Dave.
Yep. Thanks, man. All right. Get Lyric in here. Lyric, you got me? I think I hear you. Well, maybe not. Joseph, I think you're in here. Lyric, you there, man?
Yeah.
There
You
we
hear
go.
me?
Yep.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay. How everybody doing? Good morning, family.
Yeah. There you go, family. That's what this past weekend was about. So if people follow me on social media a bit, had the fall pumpkin patch there last night. So that's what a bye week brings.
Yeah. I just hope the defense. I think the game relies on the defense. Yeah, because I know we're gonna get offensive production if he play AR. I think if he play AR, he dynamic enough to stretch the defense, and we got playmakers out there on the edge. If we can run the ball and stop the run, I think we'll be fine in the game. It really boiled down to that simple. If Todd don't get too crazy and the defense come to play, I think we win the game. It's just that simple. Cause I I,
I mean, go ahead.
I just don't think they got a great defense, but they haven't played a quarterback that stretched them
Mm-hmm.
enough. You know what I'm saying? So I think the hype for them is really, really kind of overrated in a sense because of college football don't have a dominant quarterback play this year. And even in the SEC, like it has been in the last couple of years, because they haven't stopped that's why I be trying to tell. Like I live here in Georgia, in Atlanta, so it's like I be trying to tell these people up here, like, bro, Kirby haven't beat not one dynamic quarterback yet. He lost to Kyle Trask, he lost to Joe Burrow. I mean, he lost to Tua and Jalen. Like, you haven't beat one dynamic quarterback yet. So until y'all beat a dynamic quarterback, I'm not buying that though. That's
But
just my opinion.
but yeah, no, Larry, I agree with you. Like I would think that way, and then I would think completely different if there was a Kyle Trask out there and a Mac Jones out there. But if those quarterbacks are not out there, who's going to beat them? Like, are they really going to
True.
play a quarterback like that this year?
True.
So it could just they could have the magic elixir on defense just at the right time. I was texting with my Georgia buddies over the weekend, and they've kind of brought up that they're sold on this defense. Don't get me wrong, this defense is really good, but we had that kind of same conversation last week. Like, how fun would it have been to see this Georgia defense versus Kyle Trask in Florida last year and Mac Jones in Alabama last year? I mean, that was if you want to talk about the way last season was, and if you could replace or go and get some teams like that, that would have been fun. But you're right, Georgia's not going to play an offense like that. Even with Richardson in Florida, it's not going to be that type of offense. You might get a little more of a Kyle Trask style offense with ARs in there more so than Emory Jones, but it's still going to be a quarterback, zone read quarterback that's going to look to run if his pass is not there, instead of throwing his receivers open more so than not, or chucking the ball in the end zone more so than not. AR, you have that capability a little bit more, but you still got a quarterback that can make some plays happen with his legs. Not so much when Kyle Trask.
Because the badge number we got in there is a completely different badge that we made. I don't know where that one came from. But Antonio put you in gold colors. I'm gonna stand out here and see you badge in and see it work. Don't come back here no more, man. I done seen you about 50 times this year.
All right, Larry, there you go. Personal conversation going on there, but that's the thing. This Georgia defense, they are really good. It's just different this year because they don't play an offense like a Kyle Trask with Florida offense, Mac Jones, Bama. So we'll see if they get to the playoff. What SEC championship too, of course. We'll see where Alabama's offense is and growing so far this year. We've seen their kind of warts nowhere near of the offense last year. They got that capability, just not as anywhere as consistent as last year's Alabama offense. And we know Kyle Trask and Florida no longer here, and I'm not so sure Alabama's going to play. Georgia's going to face an offense like that at all this year. Well, Ohio State's getting better week in and week out. We'll see. That's the thing. This season has been weird a lot. When you look at the entire season, you've seen a lot of upsets. You see teams up there in the top 10 that you had no idea would be up there in the top 10, but when you sit and look at the top teams and who people are, besides Cincinnati, most teams are looking at for a playoff, it's still Georgia, it's still Alabama, it's still Ohio State, and right now it's still Oklahoma, even though that ugly game where they probably could have, should have, would have lost versus Kansas this past week. So we'll see where Oklahoma is as more games pile up. But it's still, you look at the top 4 or 5 teams, it's still playing out kind of chalky. So we'll see what that means for college football. But that kind of leads me to Ohio State and what they're doing recently. That might be the only dynamic offense that has the talent that can stretch Georgia's defense. So we'll see where it goes up. Still about half of the season to play, a little less than half of the season to play. Hopefully, Florida and company can put a blueprint out there and get the upset versus Georgia, beat Georgia, or put a blueprint out there and go have some success on offense. But Larry brings up a good point. It is still a lot on this defense, still a lot on this Florida defense versus Georgia's offense. We don't know what's going to happen at quarterback for Georgia. Is it going to be Stetson Bennett again? Will it be JT Daniels? That's the question for the Georgia side of it. A lot of quarterback storylines going into this game. A couple different reasons. AR maybe taking over for Emory just because of better play. And for Georgia, JT Daniels battling injury. Stetson Bennett's come in, played well. Not asked to do a whole lot, but, really passing the ball down the field well. A lot of what you saw early Florida game last year from Stetson Bennett is a lot of what he's done this year overall in pretty much every game this year that he's played. That's what he's kind of looked like so far. Georgia run game's getting going. They're banged up at running back a little bit too. Georgia is, so we'll see where they're go and their health status for this game. But quarterback storylines. But it is a lot on this Georgia, this Florida defense. Can they get off to? I talk about a fast start, and a lot of it's because of the Florida defense. It's been able to not get off to great starts and letting these teams and these offenses get into a groove and put up points early. So we'll see what Grantham's able to dial up. If he can dial up anything, not the best in preparation for games. You see a lot of early success from offenses versus Todd Grantham's defense. Another bye week right here. Georgia I talk about fast starts just the last couple of years versus Alabama and Georgia, but it's been that way for Georgia since Grantham has got here to Florida. I think they've gotten 10-0 in 18 and 19, or maybe 10-0, maybe 14-0 in one of them. I know it was 14-0 last year. I think it might have been 10-0 in 18 and 19. You can just not put yourself in a hole versus the Bulldogs. We'll see we'll see what that matters. But you're able to dig out of it last year. You're able to dig out of it somewhat versus Alabama this year. In some ways, able to dig out of it versus LSU last week as well, or last game as well. So you've shown the capability of doing so. But this, you'll have to prove it versus the best defense in the country. If you get down 14-0, 21-3, or down 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, can you come back? And I'm not so sure you'd be able to do it versus this defense. So get off to a better start. Keep the game close. And take your chances. All right. Not going to be able to go too long today. Got to head into the TV station. Meet our new general manager, our new boss at WJXT. So pretty busy day, pretty busy week here. But a lot going on. The early Florida Georgia week. There's some early talk, early look for this big game. As I said, big game. You're going against the number 1 team in the country. Go give your best shot. Give them your best shot. Go take your shot. See if you can get the upset. To make this season even more weird right now. It is a weird season so far, as I said. At the top, still kind of teams you expect, but this could be one of those teams that make it weird just a little bit. Look, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to hurt Georgia all that much if they go and win the rest of their games. But let's go give ourselves some bragging rights a little bit. Yeah, this is still a big game, still a rivalry game, but it doesn't matter if it was a rivalry game or not. You're playing the number 1 team in the country, no matter what team is behind that label. You want to go beat the number 1 team in the country. You got to go get up to play the number 1 team in the country. So, go give your best shot. It just so happens to be Georgia. Just so happens to be in a lot of people's fans' mind the biggest rivalry out there for the Gators. So there's no shortage of motivation, and Florida goes out there and get stomped and get beat. I'm going to say it's just more of a lack of preparation. I'm not going to say it's a lack of motivation because there's motivation, multiple angles here. Number 1 team in the country, your rival. You got a bye week. You've had some time to get your focus there. You've had some time to get your mind right the last couple of weeks. You've heard it all. You've heard, if you're a player, you've heard maybe even people taking shots at you, taking shots at your coaches. Go show some moxie. Go show some aggression. Go show you're ticked off. Plenty of angles for motivation in this game. So to me, I don't think that's going to be if Florida goes out there and gets blown out. I don't think motivation is going to be a factor. I think it's just going to be Georgia's a darn good team, and maybe Florida just wasn't prepared for that darn good team. But go out there, give it a shot. Because if you can go get a big victory versus number 1 team in the country, just so happens to be your biggest rival at the same time. So, all right. There we go. That'll be it for the first spaces this week. I'll do another one on Friday. We'll get all of our thoughts and all of our feelings throughout the week, all as the game gets closer. Recording this on Monday morning tonight at 8:30 on YouTube. Will Miles and I will be back at it. We'll discuss what Dan Mullen has to say in his press conference this week, or this Monday, today. We'll take a look at the explosion of the offense with AR compared to Emory, and his new article at Read and Reaction. I advise you to go read it. He gave me a little bit of preview of it. You just put it out right before we went live on this morning, so definitely go and read about that. It's about kind of the crossroads for Dan Mullen right now in his tenure at Florida. So we'll get into that too on Gators Breakdown tonight. They'll have some good conversation all week long on different platforms, different podcasts, of course. My good buddy Robbie, you've heard him on during Florida Georgia Week. He'll join me. He'll give us a Georgia preview this week as well. I'll be on their podcast this week. I'll be on Mark Rogers talking Florida Georgia as well this week. So plenty out there for Florida Georgia coverage this week in multiple ways here. So, all right, that would do it here for Spaces. Check out Gators Breakdown tonight. Check out Gators Breakdown all this week for Florida Georgia Talk, Florida Georgia Preview. Florida, number 1 going against the number 1 team in the country. So it should be hopefully fun, and we'll get to it and give you the best preview talk that we can. I'll see you on the next episode of Gators Breakdown.